y'all, welcome to another episode of THKD TV. Today I'm going to be doing a collection update for you, and today I'll be focusing on things I purchased while I was back home in Iowa for about a week. I went home for the Thanksgiving holiday and also for my birthday, and while I was there I did pick up a few CDs, believe it or not. I'm sure Iowa, for most of you, doesn't seem like a place where you're going to find a bunch of cool music or a bunch of cool record stores. And truth be told, you won't find a bunch of cool record stores there. There are a few. I didn't go to any actual record stores, but I did manage to find some pretty cool stuff while I was there. And I thought I'd share it with all of you. And if you're wondering why my arms are moving, it is because my little buddy, my production partner here, Dottie Mae, decided to pay a visit. So everybody say hi to Dottie Mae. I'm sure she'll appreciate it since she loves attention. But anyway, wanted to show off a couple things that I picked up while I was there, and now I've got dog hair all over me, so that's awesome. And she's trying to drink my water as well. So she is a very handy production partner to have. First up, I wanted to show off what we're listening to in the background. I'm not sure how well you can hear it. But this is Nosferatu by John Zorn. I apologize, I got a little water on the cover there. I don't know how well you can see it. But anyway, this is Nosferatu by John Zorn. It is a soundtrack that Zorn created for a stage production of Dracula. And it's pretty all over the map musically. Some of it's quite jazzy, some of it's more like dark ambient. Some of it kind of sounds classical, and then some of it kind of sounds like totally just like chaos, almost metalish, as like what you hear in the background. You can hear John Zorn going apeshit on the saxophone. I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure how well you can hear it, but nice to hear Zorn playing saxophone. Seems like a lot of his releases of late, he's mostly been just serving as composer and kind of putting together a group of musicians to realize his vision. So it's nice to hear him actually playing sax on this. And the packaging's pretty cool on it. Like I said, I don't know how well you can see it, and it got a little messed up during travel, but that's the back cover. It's got the blood dripping down, which I think is pretty cool. And the musicians are involved. And another reason I picked this up is because Bill Laswell's also on it, and him and John Zorn are longtime collaborators. Zorn was on one of the Praxis albums, and then also, of course, they worked together in Painkiller. So, big fan of a lot of Bill Laswell's stuff as well, was another good reason for me to pick this up. Also, another reason I picked this up, I actually found this at a place called Books A Million, sometimes known as BAM. I guess they're a chain of bookstores similar to like Barnes & Noble, but I don't think they're as widespread. And all their CDs were 30% off when we went in there. So I saw this, had to grab it. I couldn't believe I actually found a brand new John Zorn CD in Iowa, of all places. I'm not sure how it ended up there, but was very happy to pick this up because, you know, anytime I see something John Zorn that's reasonably priced, if I could talk. I'm like, you can tell I'm all scruffy and shit. I'm kind of jet lagged, and I'm like, I feel like I'm jet lagged. It's like, can you be jet lagged for only a 2-hour time difference? I'm not sure, but that's what it feels like. Anyway, that's why I look like shit. But anyway, as I was saying, I couldn't believe I found a John Zorn CD just chilling in Iowa. So I had to grab that, and for 30% off, I mean, come on, it ended up being pretty damn cheap. Also cool about this, inside it's got actually the booklet. I can't show you the CD because it's playing, but inside the booklet has a bunch of stills from the stage production, which is kind of cool. So I don't know how well you can see that. There's a little bit of a glare, but yeah, it's kind of neat to see what the actual play looked like and compare it with the soundtrack. It looks like it was pretty cool. I mean, I kind of wish I could see this, even though it's probably in Polish and I don't understand Polish. But yeah, I thought this was a pretty cool find. And again, like I said, I'm always down to pick up something John Zorn related when I see it. And especially if it's dirt cheap as this was, I had to grab it. So again, that's John Zorn, Nosferatu. And definitely worth checking out if you're into his stuff. Like I said, this one's pretty pretty diverse musically, so definitely a good grab. And it's about an hour long, so kind of lets you, and I mean, it's one of those soundtracks where it stands on its own even without watching the stage production. It's very cool to just listen to and chill out and listen to all the different sounds that Zorn employs on it. So that was a cool find. So as I said earlier, I didn't go to any actual record stores, but I went to that Books A Million where I found the John Zorn. And then the other place I went to was the good old reliable Half Price Books, which for, gosh, I can't even tell you going back how far. I don't even remember when Half Price Books first came to Iowa, but since it's been there, it's been a very reliable source for used CDs at dirt cheap prices. So I was very happy to get to go there. We have one here in Sacramento, but oddly enough, I don't find as much cool stuff as I used to find at the one in Des Moines, and I don't know how that's even a thing, because you'd think Sacramento, bigger population, more diverse, you'd find more interesting stuff there. And I do find good stuff at the one here, but for some reason I always seem to find cool stuff at the one in Des Moines, Iowa. I don't know why that is, but it is true. So these ones I'm going to show all together, but I picked up 3 albums from Shellac, and again, that glare is horrible, so I apologize for that. First one is At Action Park, which was their first album, and I actually used to have this, but I sold it out of desperation, I believe, when I was in college. Back then, you know, CDs were actually worth something, and I sold off some pretty large chunks of my collection out of desperation because I had no money. That was prior to me working I was first getting established up there, kind of. I hadn't started working 2 jobs yet and that type of thing, so I didn't have a lot of money. So I ended up selling off a lot of my collection, but happy to have this back in my collection. If you're not familiar with Shellac, they're a band started by Steve Albini, who you probably know from Big Black. And he also produced a lot of albums you probably heard of. Nirvana's In Utero, I believe Pixies. I want to say he produced Doolittle. I apologize if that's wrong, but and he's produced a bunch of other shit that you've heard of. I'm not going to go into Steve Albini's history because I'm sure you know who he is and what he's done and what his legacy is. But happy to have this one back in my collection. This is their first album, At Action Park. If you're not familiar with Shellac, they're kind of, I guess I would call them, I kind of call them noise rock, maybe. I've seen math rock thrown around at them a lot. Pretty interesting, very cool rhythms, interesting guitar riffs. And they're a classic power trio, which I'm always a big fan of power trios, whether it be Motorhead or Nirvana or whoever you want, Venom. I just love that power trio format. I don't know, there's something special about that power trio lineup for me for some reason, and Shellac is a great example of that. So again, happy to have their first album back in my collection. Picked up a couple more of their albums, and these 2 I'm not familiar with and I haven't actually listened to yet. This one is let's see here, Excellent Italian Greyhound. That's one of their more recent ones, well, more recent so to speak. Came out in 2007. But this one I'm excited to listen to because I love the artwork. It's got this Italian Greyhound with a bunch of fruit and vegetables, which I find funny for some reason, and the dog is fucking cute. So, and I love Shellac anyway, and I haven't heard their more recent stuff. I've heard their older ones, but not this one. And then I also grabbed this one. I think came out in 2014. I think this is their most recent album, Dude Incredible, and again I apologize for that horrible glare, but that one just came out in 2014, and I haven't heard it yet, so I'm excited to listen to both of those 2 since I'm only really familiar with Shellac's early stuff. Happy to have them back in my collection and get them back into rotation here, and also to check out some of their more recent offerings that I have not heard. And then lastly, this was really surprising too. I grabbed up this album, and God, that glare is terrible, but this is Villains, Never Abandon the Slut Train. There we go, now you can see it. And this is a Nuclear War Now release from a few years ago, and this I found actually at Half Price Books, and it was sealed. So I'm like, how does a sealed copy of this album land in Iowa at Half Price Books, I have no idea. But it was only $4.99, and actually everything I bought at Half Price Books, all these CDs were $4.99 a piece, so I could not say no to them. Anyway, but as far as villains goes, and there you can see it again, apparently they really like MS Paint, it looks like, based on this artwork. They are a New York band, and I guess I would call their style maybe black and thrash, but it's like a really sleazy, gross, dirty version of black thrash. I guess I would compare them to Abigail from Japan. They're kind of like a New York City version of Abigail, is the closest I can come up with. And if you haven't heard them, I definitely recommend it. If you like bands like Midnight and those type of and Venom, of course, they're definitely got that similar sound, but I think they're even more gross and sleazy and definitely worth checking out. If you haven't heard them, I recommend it. I'm excited to dig into this one. I've heard it before, but it's been a long time, so definitely excited to revisit this. And here, hopefully I still like it. I don't know, it's been a long time since I've listened to any villain stuff, so we'll see. But again, for $4.99, I could pass up a sealed copy of that. So that was all my finds from Des Moines. I know it was not a whole lot, but definitely thought there were some cool things, some surprising things to find out there. You know, I mean, Iowa's not a cultural wasteland by any means, and it gets better with time, but it's still, to me, it's surprising to find that stuff out there, because when I was younger, you know, and living out there, it was pretty rare to find stuff like, you know, stuff like Shellac or John Zorn. I mean, certainly you could find lots of metal and that type of thing, but when you get into the more weird, kind of unusual music, it's not so easy to find out there, or it used to not be anyway. I was always surprised. I mean, I remember when I found, I'm pretty sure that's where I first found my first Naked City CD, I think, was out there when I was living in Des Moines, and I was just totally shocked to find it. So, you know, just it's for me, it's just strange to find that stuff. Maybe it's gotten better that in that respect. I don't know, but again, cool to find all that stuff, and it was great to go back home and visit my family, celebrate my birthday, all that good stuff out there. So that's all I've got to show you guys today. This was a quick one. Until next time, take care, and I'll see you in another episode of THKD TV.